Hello, this is Mike Nelson. I'm the Director of Curriculum Assessments in Coeur d'Alene Public Schools. Welcome to our annual training for proctors of the Idaho Reading Indicator, this time for the 2019 school year. A reminder to all district staff, you can find up-to-date information about all of our assessments on our district's intranet, MyCDA Schools. There, click on Assessments. Our objectives are very clear. We'd like to make sure that our students could perform their best on the Idaho Reading Indicator, now provided through iStation. We've also learned a lot over this year in its first year of implementation. We want to make sure that we can share with you best practices and that students' scores can be viewable and that you can make sure that they've met their goals. However, one of the most important things that you'll need to know about this assessment is that it is nothing new. It is simply a repeat of the progress monitoring assessment in the month of May. So every month, starting on the first of the month, a student opens up their Chromebook and the test is assigned to them. That will not change for the official Idaho Reading Indicator. The window is May 1st through May 30th, 2019. Therefore, if a student logs in on May 1st thinking that it's their official test or their progress monitoring, well, it's not. It's the actual Idaho Reading Indicator score that will count. There are no retests, there are no resets. Whatever the student scores in that window will be counted as the official score for that student along the way. So be very careful. Please work with your team and your colleagues to make sure that students are aware and teachers are aware and support staff are aware that the official IRI window starts on the 1st. We do have the official IRI provided to the state of Idaho in grades kindergarten through 3rd grade, although we do provide iStation for all students in grades 4 and 5. Proctoring, well, it can be administered by anyone, and the classroom teacher may be a proctor, provided that they do sign the test security agreement, which will be included in this form. What is being measured? We're simply making sure that students' goals are being met. Our goal for the state this year is to make sure that students are available scoring in Tier 1. That is the green tier down at the very bottom, indicating that it's a normal distribution for our students. Students whose scores appear in Tiers 2 and 3 will be considered not proficient at the state level. You'll also notice the different subtests that are available on the IRI provided by iStation. We'll go through each of those subtests here with you in just a few moments. Here are some best practices that we've seen from buildings who have administered the Idaho Reading Indicator over the course of the year. The first is to make sure that students are aware that everything that they do really matters, that we do take our scores seriously, and we want to make sure that they meet their academic goals. At that point, you may want to also use ISIP modeling. Many of you know that you can log on to your iStation account and actually model a student what the assessment looks like even before they do that. That is certainly a best practice that students are completely aware with the expectations of the test. As you're administering the exam, please make sure you're wandering around, providing positive support for the students. You may also want to consider testing over multiple days. This is important, especially in 1st grade, where the test is a little bit longer than other grade levels. But if you're going to do that, or whenever you decide to give the Idaho Reading Indicator, please communicate with your parents and guardians. Let them know exactly the date and time that students will be tested so that they can become a partner in the learning as well. We do not provide student headphones, but hopefully you have enough headphones to be able to do that. It is a school supply that students are supposed to bring on their own for hygiene purposes. Please make sure their headphones are working and the volume is turned up to an appropriate level for them. Additionally, please consider posting a do not disturb sign. Therefore, students can just stay focused on their device and doing their best work. You can download a do not disturb sign right off of MyCDA Schools. One of the most important things also that we have learned this year is once a student has completed their test, please make sure they are completely logged out of their Chromebook. If a student stays logged in, sometimes it does delay scoring along the way. Let's talk a little bit about what the iStation assessment will look like. This is a computer adaptive assessment, meaning that once a student is given an item, if you follow the green arrows, the student will get a more difficult STEM or question if that answer was correct. the student's answer was incorrect, a relatively easier answer or STEM is available for them on the next question. Ultimately, the goal of the test is to try to find an equilibrium score that will be, again, the official score provided to the state of Idaho. Here are the subtests. They are not changed, again, for the IRI. This is a typical assessment, and the student should have been seeing these same subtests throughout the course of the year, with kindergarten and first grade getting a majority of letter knowledge, vocabulary, decoding, and third and second grades getting a little bit more of a text fluency approach with reading comprehension, also a major component. Please notice that text fluency in grades 2 and 3, although are administered, it is not a calculated part of the overall score. In listening comprehension, students will simply have a story read to them, they'll be asked some questions, and they'll be asked to simply choose an answer that they feel best represents the story. In phonological awareness, students will have a modeled instruction for them, then they'll have some practice questions, and then be provided with individual items identifying letters. However, this is also an important piece to recognize the yellow arrow in the bottom right-hand corner. Once you see a student testing, they should show the blue ISIP in progress button at the bottom of the page. Once that blue ISIP in progress button is not there, that means that they have finished the assessment and they can be logged off. In phonemic awareness, we're looking for the beginning sounds or identifying phonemes or syllables. In alphabetic decoding, we're looking at the non-words pronounced by the narrator. This is similar to a maze type assessment or a nonsense word fluency in previous years. In vocabulary, although students will be identifying a word said by the narrator and choosing the appropriate picture, or additionally to a word similarly said by the narrator. In reading comprehension, students will match sentences with pictures or completing a text via a drop-down. In spelling, students will be asked to spell a word and orthographic representations of those words. Notice that they do not have to use all of the spaces. And finally, in text fluency, the unscored section, again, we see that blue ISIP button in progress in the bottom right-hand corner, and they'll use the drop-down menu to be able to choose the correct answer for the sentence. This again reminds us that we have multiple devices that can be used. We do have some touchscreen Chromebooks and some standard. If you are using a device, a student really does need to be familiar with how those are being used. ISIP is untimed. You can actually stop at any time. And again, for the longer tests, I would always encourage you to do it over multiple days. However, if for whatever reason a student does need a break, there is a 20-minute break that you can use with a pause at that time. They can also, again, exit out of right after each subtest before the instructions are read for them. We may run also into students who need some additional supports to be able to complete the assessment. One of those supports can be in either an embedded accommodation, something that iStation is going to do to accommodate the needs of the student. And some of those accommodations are non-embedded, some things that we will have to do to be able to support them. Please note for a major number of these accommodations, they will need to be in a written document in the IEP or 504 to support those needs of a student, specifically around any changes around instructional level, content, or performance. Some of the embedded accommodations, well, it's fairly simple to say that an accommodation is that this is a computer adaptive test for students above or below grade level. Students will be given questions eventually based on their ability range. So no accommodation is necessary. That is just something that is the nature of the test and how it is coded. In addition, you can go through and review directions at the beginning of each test. We'll have an opportunity to be able to review each of the directions as well as the sub-directions for each of the sub-tests. You'll be able to stop that at any time. Other accommodations, these non-embedded within the test, could be the use of a touchscreen Chromebook, Zoom text software, adaptive keyboards, mice, or trackballs, or the use of taking the test on an interactive whiteboard. Again, please consult an IEP or 504 to determine the appropriate accommodation. At the very end of the assessment, let's talk about scores. What do you think the score is that we're looking for this assessment? Well, we would like students to score in the green range, in the Tier 1 range along the way. So if the student were to be a second grader, in the month of May, you would see our goal score would be a 231. We will also be providing student summary handouts. Our term does end at the end of May the 31st, which does give us a short turnaround to get the final reports back from the printer, but we will expedite those as quickly as possible. If you do finish testing early, we're asking that buildings contact us so that we can start the process of preparing your reports quicker. And these reports, of course, will be able to be used to identify further interventions, skill weaknesses, or to prepare for the coming school year. If there is an incident that happens during the test, it is imperative, you are required to communicate those irregularities to the test administrator in your building. That person usually is the library manager and/or building principal. They will then enter in all of the information that you see up on the screen into our test management system, and then that will be reviewed by the State Department of Education to ensure that we have indeed follow all of the directions for administration. Well, that is it for everything that we're going to provide you for this assessment. Again, keep a reminder, the official test window is the 1st through the 30th of May. And please remember that as a student opens up that Chromebook and launches into iStation anytime during that month of May, the first time, that is their official Idaho Reading Indicator. Thank you so much for watching today's video, and thank you for your efforts to make sure that our students are well prepared and literate, demonstrating their capacity for growth in our district. Have a great day.